You've been living as a shadow, a reflection of what others expect, not who you truly are. Every choice, every smile, every silence, calculated to please the invisible audience of your life. But here's the brutal truth. The more you live for their approval, the further you drift from your soul. Most men never notice the quiet death happening inside them. They wake up every day performing, pleasing their parents, their peers, their lovers, chasing acceptance like oxygen. But the cost is your identity. You become a well-trained servant in a kingdom of opinions, ruled by fear of rejection. The Stoics called this slavery of the mind, the sickness of needing applause. Marcus Aurelius warned, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." Living for others is death disguised as virtue. It feels noble, but it's cowardice dressed in politeness. The value of this message is simple but dangerous. If you learn to live for yourself, you will offend people, but you will finally belong to yourself. You'll stop bending for approval and start standing for purpose. You'll no longer live like a puppet pulled by invisible strings, but as a man rooted in his own law. This is not about rebellion, it's about reclamation. To live for yourself is to reclaim your time, your focus, your voice. It's the return to sovereignty, the foundation of a Stoic mind. So I'll ask you this. Are you ready to disappoint the world, if it means finally meeting yourself? Because that's the price of freedom. If you are, then stay. Because what follows will not make you comfortable. It will make you awake. Here are 5 ways to live for yourself and not for others. 1. Stop seeking validation. Look closely at your life, and you'll see it. Every decision laced with the invisible need to be liked. You post a thought online, then refresh the screen. You hesitate before saying the truth, scanning faces for approval. You dress, speak, and act as if the world were grading you, and it is, because you've handed it the power to. This is the modern cage, validation. It doesn't look like chains, it feels like dopamine. You've been conditioned to trade authenticity for applause. But applause is a drug, sweet in the moment, poisonous over time. The more you crave it, the weaker you become. The Stoics saw this centuries ago. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, freedom begins when you stop explaining yourself to the crowd. Because their approval will never fill the void, it only deepens it. Let me tell you a story. A man once lived his whole life trying to make his father proud. He became everything society praised, wealthy, respected, admired. But on the night of his greatest success, he looked in the mirror and felt nothing, because his entire existence had been a performance. He had mastered the art of being seen, but not of being alive. The solution is radical honesty. Do things that matter to you, not the imaginary council of spectators in your mind. Speak truth, even when your voice shakes. Create without seeking applause. Live by your standards, and you'll watch the world's opinion lose its grip. Validation is borrowed power. Self-respect is owned power. One fades when the crowd turns away. The other stays, unshaken, unbending. And that's where real sovereignty begins. 2. Detach from emotional manipulation. Most people don't need to be chained to be controlled. They're held hostage by something far more subtle. Guilt. That silent voice whispering, if you say no, they'll think you're selfish. If you don't help, they'll stop loving you. And so, like obedient servants, we comply. We sacrifice peace for approval and call it kindness. But here's the truth. Emotional manipulation is the modern leash. It disguises itself as morality, as care, as doing the right thing. Yet underneath, it's all the same weapon, fear of disapproval. And the Stoics knew this poison well. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If your emotions can be hijacked by guilt, you're not free. You're programmed. You've allowed others to dictate your emotions, your time, your energy. And they'll keep doing it, because manipulation only works on those who crave acceptance. Let me paint a scene. A friend calls you, not to connect, but to complain. You're exhausted, but you listen anyway, because you don't want to be rude. An hour later, you hang up, drained, resentful, and quietly angry at yourself. You didn't help them. You just bled for their comfort. The Stoic response? Detachment, not cruelty. You can love people without being owned by them. You can care without being controlled. When guilt rises, breathe and remind yourself, their emotions are not my duty. Practice calm refusal. Guard your peace as fiercely as a fortress guards its gates. Because every yes that betrays your truth weakens your soul, and every honest no rebuilds your sovereignty. Detach from emotional manipulation, and you'll feel it, that rare, terrifying, beautiful thing called freedom. 3. Learn to be misunderstood. You will never live for yourself if you fear being misunderstood. Every man who stands apart, who dares to follow his own code, must be willing to be judged, mocked, and exiled by the herd. Because the crowd doesn't hate truth, it hates independence. The moment you stop conforming, you threaten the fragile order of those still asleep. You remind them of everything they surrendered, their dreams, their integrity, their courage. And people don't forgive reminders. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stop explaining your choices to those who haven't earned the right to question them. The need to be understood is the need to be validated all over again, just dressed in more sophisticated words. Let me tell you a story. A man left a high-paying job to pursue something quieter, his own craft, his philosophy. His friends laughed, his family worried. They said he was throwing away his potential. But years later, when he walked through life with peace in his chest, they finally saw what he saw. He wasn't lost. He was free. To be misunderstood is to live on your own frequency. Not everyone will hear your music, and that's the point. The Stoic path is not consensus, it's clarity. You're not here to convince the blind of color. You're here to see. So stop begging to be seen clearly by those who choose to look away. Let their confusion be your proof that you're no longer one of them. Because the man who can stand alone in his truth, unshaken, unmoved, unapologetic, has already won the only battle that matters. 4. Define your inner code. Look around you. Most men don't live, they drift. They wake up and move wherever the current pushes them. News, trends, other people's moods. They chase comfort, not conviction. And the tragic part? They don't even realize they've surrendered. A man without a code is a ship without a compass. He can have strength, intelligence, even talent, but without a direction, he's easily conquered. The Stoics understood this with surgical clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote daily, not because he was uncertain, but because he was sharpening his internal law. His journal was his battlefield map. He reminded himself who he was so the world couldn't tell him otherwise. Your code must be written in the language of action, not words. What do you stand for? What will you never betray? No matter the reward, no matter the threat. Until you answer that, you're not free. You're for sale. Consider this story. A man was offered everything: status, luxury, comfort, but at the cost of his integrity. He hesitated for only a second. That second was enough. He sold himself. And from that day forward, every decision he made was shaped by that one compromise. A single fracture in your principles will spread until you no longer recognize yourself. The solution? Define your code like a warrior sharpens his blade. Write it, refine it, defend it. When temptation comes, you don't think. You act according to law. That's Stoic power, rational consistency under pressure. Live by your code, not convenience. Because in a world of noise, the man with principles becomes a signal. Steady, grounded, untouchable. And when the world burns, he remains unmoved. 5. Guard your time like a fortress. If you want to know who truly owns you, look at who controls your time. The weak give it away freely, to distractions, obligations, and people who drain them. The strong guard it like a fortress, because they know time is not currency, it's life itself. Seneca warned, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Most men die long before their funeral, not because their heart stopped, but because they surrendered their hours to everyone but themselves. You say yes to every invitation. You scroll endlessly, drown in notifications, attend conversations that go nowhere. And at the end of the day, you feel hollow, because your time was traded for nothing. That's not generosity. That's self-betrayal. Let me show you how this trap works. There was a man who prided himself on being available. He was always there for everyone, helping, listening, rescuing. But late at night, when silence returned, he felt a strange ache. He realized he had been busy living other people's lives. His own dreams had withered quietly in the background. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Protect your time with the calm cruelty of a guardian. Your minutes are sacred ground. Only purpose and peace may enter. Every no you say is not rejection, but preservation. Every hour you reclaim is an act of self-respect. Learn to be ruthless with what does not serve your growth. The world will call you cold. Let them. A man who values his time appears heartless only to those who waste theirs. Because when your schedule obeys your soul, not the noise, you become unstoppable. And the fortress of your time becomes the throne of your freedom. So here we are. After all the noise, all the masks, all the pretending, standing at the edge of something terrifying, yourself. This is where most people turn back. Because to live for yourself means one thing: you can no longer hide. The truth is brutal but liberating. No one is coming to validate you. No one will hand you peace, freedom, or respect. You have to seize it. Through silence, through discipline, through defiance. You've learned what most never will. That validation is a drug, guilt is a weapon, misunderstanding is freedom, principles are armor, and time is your most sacred territory. Together they form the architecture of sovereignty, the inner citadel no one can storm. But you must choose it daily. Every morning the world will whisper, conform, please us, be safe. And you'll have to whisper back, no. That as the war, the quiet rebellion of living by your own code while everyone else is performing for applause, you will lose people. You will outgrow circles. You will walk alone for a while. But solitude is not loneliness. It's training, because once you learn to stand alone, you'll never kneel again. So here's the challenge. Stop being an extra in someone else's movie. Reclaim the script. Write with purpose. Speak with conviction. Act with courage. And when they misunderstand you, smile. It means you finally stopped imitating the crowd. If this message cut deep, it's because you were meant to hear it. So if you're ready to build your timeless Stoic mind, join the brotherhood. Like this video. Share it. Comment what truth hit you hardest. Because your life begins the moment you stop performing and start becoming.